freedom or death. We gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes. Back in the 80s when the streets got soaked, my people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt, man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor's the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment, it's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out. It's time to rise up. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And before we start this off, I'm gonna get into some independent music. And here goes Don Tripp, Horsepower Freestyle.
Hey, Stevie.
Here I go again down the road, let's travel on. Got so many horses in the coupe and need a saddle on. 40 with a 40, I blow it like a saxophone. It's fuck you, and if you got the message, nigga, pass it on. Live from the devil's catacombs with a bag of bones. If I don't bring the rice and cabbage home, we won't have a home. You ain't gotta give me jack shit, I'd rather have my own. In my own lane, I might need to set some traffic cones. All about my green, I feel like a set of salad tones. And I mean every word, closed caption on. Here we go again, here I am on this path alone. My mission ain't complete until I'm back at home. Grinding every day and night, nothing come for free, I had to pay a price. I don't trust nothing but my scale, I still weigh it twice. If it's fuck you, it's forever, ain't no playing nice. Pussy ass nigga, fix your skirt, it ain't ladylike. Every day's a gamble, but it's worth it if you play it right. Even when I was skinny, all my pockets had cellulite. Sitting in my studio with Jizzle Baby, 2019, he said, Trip, why you been chillin' lately? I said I go somewhere off the grid when I get irritated. He said, but you let it shit. I said, but it's filled with haters. He said, niggas gon' come for your spot if niggas feel it's vacant. I said, I've been waiting for that so long, I'm starting to get impatient. He said, bro, they copying the style that you originated. I said, don't you worry, brother, no one likes an imitation. He couldn't help but laugh at it. He said, man, this nigga crazy. We looked at each other and said, fuck it, let's go get this paper. Here I go again down the road, let's travel on. Got so many horses in the coupe, I need a saddle on. 40 with a 40 and I blow it like a saxophone. It's fuck you, and if you got the message, nigga, pass it on. Fuck you, and if you got the message, nigga, pass it on. Yes, fuck you, and if you got the message, nigga. Here I go again down the road, let's travel on. Got so many horses in the coupe, need a saddle on. 40 with a 40 and I blow it like a saxophone. It's fuck you, and if you got the message, nigga, pass it on. Long live Pill, and long live Jizzle.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. That was Don Tripp, Horsepower Freestyle. I want to get into something this morning that I think a lot of people haven't really. I'm gonna just say it like this, right? I think politics, they really do play in our faces, and when it really comes down to it, not enough people stand up and stand on business. There's a lot of people that would rather bow down and kiss the ring instead of standing up for we the people. So I want to get into uh, how there's this new crop of what they say Republican hopefuls in Minnesota. So I want to let this play for a little bit, and I want people to listen because uh, this is a conversation between Jana, I think I don't know her last name, and Amy Koch. Uh, and what really caught my attention was I don't know what she looks like by face. I just know the name, right? So when they said, this is Amy Frederickson uh, Koch, I was like, hey, wait, that's the lady who she was a senator at one point. She was a speaker, and she was having an affair. And it's like but wait, there was so much of that back in the early 2010 era because it wasn't just Amy and Michael. You had a representative, actually two state senators, I believe it was, one from Red Wing, and another one was they were having an affair. And then they said when they got busted that the park ranger was lying. But see, but it doesn't stop there because then there you had Mary Franson and all her little. There was a lot that came out in a lawsuit, and I know a lot of people don't have the time and energy to sit here and read documents and read things that maybe can uh, lead a different path, and instead they would rather look the other way and continue doing what they're doing because they believe because they don't have the energy or the motivation to re-educate and educate themselves. So they would rather be blind and look the other way. So I want to get into this new crop of Republican hopefuls in Minnesota.
Welcome to Breaking the News Plus on this Wednesday night. We're going to swim in the warm waters of politics because that's just like where we want to stay cozy on the Plus. Joining me, Amy Frederickson, formerly known as Amy Koch, my friend and Republican strategist in all things smart and plugged into politics. Amy, there are a couple things I want to talk to you about tonight. The first is what a lot of people don't pay attention to when they're not kind of in the know within party politics, and that is the Republicans had a straw poll.
Hold on a second, right? Because for somebody that keeps on, I shouldn't say keep on, but they didn't have Republican views or Republican values. And I'm just going to be honest here, right? If you were having affairs, if you were doing all other kind of bullshit, even with the fraud, you are somebody who, and that I feel, and this is another thing that, in my eyes, that is wrong for Carrie Levin, because you knew about her past. So are we really? Because I'm gonna be honest here. There's a lot of individuals that are, doesn't matter if they're Democrats or doesn't matter if they're Republicans, they have looked at me because of my past mistakes. So what I want to say is, what makes it that she's learned her lesson and I haven't learned mine? Is it because of our skin colors? Is that what it really comes down to? And I think that is the biggest problem when it comes to Minnesota politics. We have such hypocritical Minnesota representatives, Minnesota senators, U.S. congressmen, governor, because there is a lot of individuals who are elected officials and who shouldn't be. Who shouldn't be? Because should we really have people making decisions for us if they can't even keep their own laundry or their own lives clean? Because I really do feel like if you're a person of authority, if you are a decision maker, shouldn't you not be doing bad behaviors, and I can look at Nicole Mitchell, I can look at Justin Eichhorn. There's a lot of individuals who should not be state representatives or state senators or even governors, for that matter, just because of the things that they've done to our community. I look at Amy Klobuchar, somebody that has railroaded Black youth for years. And they haven't demoted her. They've promoted her. They've allowed her to keep her seat. They've allowed her to get rich from corporate entities off the pain and the trauma in our communities. In our communities. What happened to that? That's what I don't understand. It's like, how can individuals vote or even stand with these people because you know the history? And if you're saying that you don't know the history, you're blind. And that's what I don't understand. I don't understand. And, and I'm really going to get into a little heavy this episode. And I think it needs to be. It needs to be a conversation that we're all having, not just one on, just not talking to your neighbor, but talking to people from other counties, talking to people from other cities. Or even, here's the thing of it is, right? Because one thing that I'm hearing, even when it comes to District 59, which is Bobby Joe Champion, Raina, or whatever her name is, and then the little Asian dude. And it's like, how can these people continually win elections and our area still looks like shit? The same thing with Ilhan Omar. Our areas, the side of Minneapolis, Congressional District number 5, looks like shit. That is not the Minneapolis I remember. So that's what you get when you have people that, and I'm not even going to go with the foreigner thing. I'm going to go with people that are not Minnesotans, who weren't born here. I'm going to be honest. We have a lot of elected officials who were not born and raised here. They are. So when we say that Minnesota, that's why that's so Minnesota nice is fucked up. Because you have people who are not from Minnesota talking about, oh, we're just that minute. No, you know nothing about it. You were not born or raised here. You came here as a transplant and then injected yourselves into politics. That's what I don't understand. It's like, how do you move from one area to another and inject yourself into politics? You know nothing about our history. You know nothing about our Minnesota culture. You don't know a goddamn thing about it. That's why our history in Minnesota is so fucked up. Our historical buildings are getting torn down. It's because we have a lot of people who are elected officials who are not from Minnesota, born and raised.
With the candidates for eyeing the governor's seat opening next fall, and the straw poll winner, businessman Kendall Qualls. That surprised me.
Oh, well, so it didn't surprise me as much, Jana, but I'd love to. So a couple things about straw poll, because first of all, I just want to point out, like, it's early, and the last person who won the straw poll was Paul Gazelka, then Senate Majority Leader, who went on to do incredibly mediocre in the sort of Republican endorsement and process and primary process. So I want to just kind of like lay that out for expectation. But Kendall Qualls ran 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. He narrowly lost the endorsement to Scott Jensen. Scott Jensen went on to be the Republican nominee against Governor Walz. Kendall Qualls has been working within the Republican Party for, going on 5 years now, right? If you count that race plus this, the last 4 years. And so he is a very known person to the state central delegates. These are the insider's insider. This is even more insidery than the endorsement. So not a surprise with Kendall, but there are a couple other folks that did surprise me.
Who's that?
and cannot be ignored. So Kendall was expected, but I understand that there was sort of like there were promises made because he's been in and there were like commitments to vote for him long before other folks got in, right? So most prominently, the second place was Speaker Lisa Damoth. That surprised me only that she did so well, given that she just jumped in the race.
Oh,
And that shows so in my mind, she's sort of the front runner because she has not been working this, and she just like soared to the top, really within a vote or two of Kendall Qualls. And then, third was Mike Lindell, which is a perennial disappointment to me. I don't know who wants Mike Lindell to run. It would be the most disastrous disaster. I guess Governor Walz would like Kendall or would like Mike Lindell to run. But other than Mike Lindell and Governor Walz, I don't know who wants Mike Lindell to run, except a few people. So he came in third, but he's got a lot of name ID and whatever. So. And then the attorney, and I think we've talked about him before, Chris Maddle, came in fourth, but with almost the same amounts of votes as Mike Lindell. And again, like the Damoth vote, a bit of a surprise to me that he did so well, given that he really did not work this at all, and basically kind of showed up and gave a speech. So,
okay. How many people are we talking about that are involved in this straw poll within the party?
300, 350. It's very small. And as I said, it's like they're called the state central delegates. So they come from the endorsement process, but they're even elected like beyond that. It's a couple thousand that go to an endorsing convention. This is sort of like the people that run that, the sort of the goings on of the day-to-day goings on of the MNGOP.
Okay. So to summarize, basically from your expertise, Kendall Qualls, not a surprise because he's been around these insiders of the party for a long time now. He has already run before. He's probably was the first to declare in this race on the Republican side. He has been face to face with these kinds of Republicans that have these votes for years.
Yeah. And by the way, the big kind of loser in this was the former Republican nominee, Senator Jensen, Dr. Jensen. He did abysmally in this. So that's something where he's going to either have to super retool his campaign or maybe drop out. So.
Yeah, do we see any ramifications like that from a straw poll if they don't even bat an eye? Because Scott Jensen didn't do well, nor did Kristen Robbins.
Yeah, neither did Kristen Robbins, state rep from Maple Grove area. Well, I think they stand for a while, but it can have ramifications, particularly around kind of fundraising and then ongoing endorsement support, right? People start to sort of gather steam or not. Now, it's not over because, as I said, Paul Gazelka won the last one. But especially for those, the top, like not in the top four, call it, those folks have to sort of kind of think about like, how much longer can I go on with the campaign? What do I need to do to retool, or do I just drop out?
Yeah, and to remind folks watching, spring is the endorsement time from the party, and then the primary for the candidates who are still around. Some will stay in, even if they don't get the endorsement. If not all of them would stay in, and then they run for a primary in late summer, August, I think it is. So can we move on to a name? I know you and I have talked about a person I've talked to on Breaking the News several times, a person very well known, high name ID, who is reportedly flirting with jumping into the race for Tina Smith's soon-to-be vacated U.S. Senate seat. That is a race that has been dominated really by Democrats, Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig going at it from the Democratic side, trying to win Tina's seat. And the Republican candidate has been weak, Royce White, if that's the kindest thing we can say about that candidacy. And then you have a couple of others in the race, but really haven't made any fundraising goals, haven't really done much.
So let me ask a question, right? Because I see that through Royce out here. What is really the difference of the Republican insider you have up here talking about Republican politics? And she has her own skeletons in her own closet. So I don't understand of like how we as Minnesotans, we always, and it's still, I don't know what Jana, whatever the fuck her name is, was her point, and maybe she'll get into that or whatever. But I really do feel like that's fucked up. And as Minnesotans, we sit here and like to bash. And I don't know if this was blatant. I don't know if this was something that they had already prior talked about. But I still feel like we don't give people a chance because we like to down others, but they have the same skeletons in their closet. This is a state representative I'm gonna be honest, that literally had an affair, and you want her opinion. I still don't get that shit. I really don't understand it, but hey, it is what it is, I guess.
So the person I'm talking about, Michelle Tafoya, former NFL sideline reporter, well known within GOP circles, well known outside of them. For her to enter that race, would that be someone that Republicans in Minnesota would get behind, or is it still a safe Democratic seat?
It's not a safe Democratic seat. Any kind of statewide race, everybody thinks Minnesota is so deeply blue. It's just simply not. Now, you have a high population in the metro area that tends to be blue. But but greater Minnesota is deeply red. So if you can actually pick up sort of the undecideds and the moderates in the suburbs, you can do well. Michelle Tafoya is one of those candidates, as you said, tremendous name ID. I think a real ability to raise money, even on a national level. She's not just known in Minnesota. She's been a reporter, a sports reporter for, I don't know, a couple decades.
Yeah, she was on Monday Night Football. It was as big as it gets in terms of sideline.
It's as big as it gets, right? So she has an ability, I think, to bring in and draw attention. And as you said, the field is essentially empty on the GOP side. So it's not too late. The only thing will be is, she's going to have to get in and really raise some money. And then it's going to be a very interesting battle on the Democrat side to see who comes out of that endorsement and eventually, I assume, a primary. But that's going to have the Democrats kind of locked in a battle. So if Tafoya could come through the endorsement or just, I don't know. I don't know if she'd go straight to the primary, but without a real opponent that's raising money, she would get a lot of attention and airtime and have a lot of time to sort of just continue to build her name ID and run her campaign. If I were her, and even if I went to a primary, I'd run that race like I'm running in the general. I would just run to have name out there, to garner support, to raise money, and then, be ready for whoever comes out, which were both strong candidates on the Democrat side between Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and Congresswoman Angie Craig.
And you and I have talked before about perhaps it's been lack of support from the Republican National Committee about why there isn't a really strong Republican jumping into a race for the U.S. Senate. Those are big seats that don't come up all the time.
Right. And it's been besides the fact that Republicans haven't won since 2006 statewide, those U.S. Senate seats, which, by the way, in my lifetime, were both Republican. I can faintly remember Boschwitz and Durenberger. Rudy Boschwitz is still alive and kicking and doing his good work. So it's not been that long ago, but they've been seats that we've just almost entirely ceded, except for very few exceptions. I would say I helped run the Housley campaign to fill the sort of quickly vacant Al Franken seat. Now, 2018 was a terrible year for Republicans, but other than that, we just really haven't had strong candidates. Whether it's Klobuchar running, and she's such a juggernaut, it's just been a space that we have pretty much not touched. And I think a lot of national folks think, well, it's Minnesota. That's a blue state. And it's just not true. When you're here, you understand that this state is, sometimes purple, sometimes light red, sometimes light blue. And the right candidate can win the day because we're a state of ticket splitters and common sense and super educated voters.
So do you think Michelle Tafoya should run?
I think I'd like to see her jump in the race. Yeah.
All right. I have one more quick question for you. This is way down the rabbit hole of politics, but there is no secret that Governor Tim Walz is in a situation he has not been in before in terms of how he is being the reporting on fraud that we've been doing for 5 years has picked up a second wind with this current Trump administration kind of jumping in and the national media jumping in on stories that we've already been reporting. Do you see any scenario where Governor Walz bows out of this race and one of those Senate candidates, say, and Angie Craig or Lieutenant Governor Flanagan goes to the governor's race? Or is that just crazy?
I just think it's difficult. Think about President Biden, right? President Biden, everybody knew he shouldn't run. I mean, I thought it was quite obvious. And then you sort of heard, we did the State of the State and people said, oh, look, he's just fine. And I thought, he is not okay. Dean Phillips, our own Congressman Dean Phillips, decided to run against him to sort of say somebody should. And he was just excoriated. It's really hard for a seated president or a seated governor, for anyone to say to them, no, you shouldn't. It's just, you sort of have your circle of advisors, and your circle of advisors want to see you continue. You've got your family, and I think that Governor Walz's family and his wife and his kids are very supportive of whatever he wants to do. And of course, for a while, there just weren't, a lot of Republicans in the race, right? It was Kendall Walz who ran last time. It was, Scott Jensen who ran last time. But now there's some pretty, heavy hitters jumping in this race. But how do you back down? I just don't see it. And I don't see, there's not some big party apparatus that's going to say, no, you need to step down. There just isn't. That isn't really how politics works. You could have donors not giving money, but how are they not going to give money to a seated governor? They're going to. So.
Right. Different situation from in the Biden situation, there was just, America watched that debate that really kind of put everybody back on their heels. Like, oh, he actually isn't ready, capable.
Right. It was an extraordinary moment. Right. It was an extraordinary moment that he even got to the debates in June. And my goodness, an early debate, thank goodness, right? Or you didn't had no chance. You'd have gotten to, if the debates had been in August and September, as they usually are, we wouldn't have known until then. But it was that debate that was just so front and center and in everybody's face that there just could not be any argument any longer.
All right, what's the story to watch in politics, in your opinion, in the state of Minnesota in the next couple of days?
Well, I think it's the Tafoya that we touched on. The will she or won't she? We may start to get more information on that. But again, it's not a huge rush for her to get in before the holidays. And then I hope that everybody will go away and just enjoy their families for a while. I hope that there isn't a lot of big stories. Come on, let's have some nice Christmas. I got a new husband. I got a new bonus son. I got my daughter having twins. I'm hoping that it's quiet.
Amy Fredrickson, the happy newlywed now.
These motherfuckers be crazy. Guess she's married again. That's kind of weird. But and that's the crazy thing of they get excited over, I don't know. To me, it's not. Minnesota's in a state of disarray right now, and there should be so much more that we're doing as people and as candidates or whatever. But I'm gonna get in some more about the fraud, because they are pausing some state programs, and I think people should be informed on that, because it does involve a lot of people, and it does involve people that we maybe care for or love, and we should be caring about them. We should be knowing what's going on. So the more that we're informed of our, I'll just say neighbors, our community members, we should do as much informing as we can.
Allegations of fraud in Minnesota are mounting.
Today, state officials say that they expect to pause enrollment for even more state programs. This after announcing a pause in licensing for adult daycare centers for the next 2 years. Caroline Cummings reports how lawmakers may do more.
To discuss customized living services and assisted living facilities.
On Wednesday, Minnesota Department of Human Services officials again stood before the House Fraud Oversight Committee as the state grapples with cases of fraud in Medicaid programs, garnering national attention and sparking federal probes from the Trump administration. Earlier this month, the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services sent a letter to DFL Governor Tim Walz asking that DHS stop all new provider enrollments for the 14 programs deemed at high risk for fraud or risk losing federal Medicaid money. On the list, adult day services.
We've pulled in staff from other state agencies to increase capacity to help with surveillance and investigations of adult day providers.
The hearing came just one day after DHS said it would stop licensing new adult daycare providers for 2 years because there was a 43% uptick in providers compared to just a 7% increase in people needing those services. James Clark, the DHS Inspector General, said he expects similar program enrollments to be put on pause to comply with the feds.
How do you get established as a adult day provider in the first place if there's nobody that you need to take care of?
Clark responded that showing need for services isn't a requirement to get licensed, but he suggested the legislature consider changing that for all DHS programs billing Medicaid to get ahead of fraud before it happens.
And we're investigating allegations of kickbacks in the adult day program area, because when you have a flood or excess of providers in a marketplace and you can't, make money the legitimate way, you're going to try to think about how to make it illegitimately and drum up business.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
Just this year, Minnesota put an anti-kickback law in place, making it illegal to accept those financial incentives, punishable by up to 20 years in prison. Kickbacks were part of the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme.
Yeah, and as we all know, that kickbacks aren't illegal in Minnesota. Yes, it should be, but that is something that I think we need to change at the legislation level. That's something that we need to do. Talk to our senators, talk to our representatives, and how are we going to protect our community? Because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people that are poor, that are, just basically 9-to-5 ass people, and they're not really paying attention to politics. They're paying attention to what's in front of them, and that's work, and that's that's sure isn't what's going on in our communities. I can tell you that for sure. We have a lot of people that are blind and people who are followers, or people who have been paid, who have been fed, and they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. They're not. So that's what I want people to sit here and realize and recognize, is that we need a definite change in Minnesota. And especially when, doesn't matter about 2024, doesn't matter about 2023, 2022, 2021. It matters now about going forward. We can call people out for the bad behaviors, and we can hope for people to be accountable. And I don't really think that's going to happen to a lot of people start standing up and talking. Just like what happened yesterday at the fraud committee here, and you had Nathaniel Olson in there, and I got to give it up to him. He did a very good job. And here is Liz Collins' report, and you have some whistleblowers, and she also puts Nathaniel's, what he spoke at the fraud committee in here.
Forward with reports and information about rampant fraud in Minnesota. One of them has been trying to sound the alarm for years, only to be ignored while millions of taxpayer dollars disappeared. More about her story and the real victims next. We are joined today by a would-be whistleblower, someone who tried to call attention to fraud in Minnesota but was ignored. She still works in county government and wanted to speak out. But unfortunately, we do live in a world where cancel culture, doxing, violent threats have all become too common. So she asked us to help protect her identity. We're going to call her Susan. Thank you, Susan, for reaching out and for speaking with us today.
Yeah, of course.
I want to first focus on Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services. It's the HSS program funded by Medicaid and administered by the Minnesota Department of Human Services. As you know, the program was officially shut down on October 31st after it was said to be just riddled with fraud. You saw all of this up close. You tried reporting it for years. What have you seen for yourself?
So what I witnessed firsthand, there were a lot of red flags. So I would go out to my clients' homes to be there and help them kind of navigate and go through this. And we would have a meet and greet where the service agreement / contract would be signed, and the so-called provider for the service would say, we will see you weekly. We will be emailing weekly. We will be looking for housing together weekly. As soon as we'd sign the contracts and they would leave, we would never hear from them again. I would send multiple emails, voicemails, leave voicemails for supervisors. Gone, nothing. And then I would say 2 months later, we would find out that that person is gone or this place is gone. They're no longer there. But meanwhile, the whole few months, there was 0 services provided. Then we'd start the process all over again with a new person coming out. You know, usually it's always someone in their 20s, probably a very entry-level position, when we have to sign new contracts / service agreements, and they would give us the same identical speech. You know, we'll see you weekly. We'll be looking for housing weekly. You'll get weekly reports, weekly emails, lots of contact. No contact, ghosted. And this cycle went on for a period of 2 to 3 years, and there were absolutely 0 services provided whatsoever. And I made multiple calls to try to get answers, only to be met with no answers, no returned phone calls, no returned emails, nothing. Or I was told that person is gone.
So while taxpayers are paying the price, it seems the clients are the real victims in all of this. And I know one of the reasons you wanted to speak out. Tell us about them.
So these clients are some of the most vulnerable people that we have. You know, they are the homeless. They are the mentally ill. They are the developmentally delayed. They are physically handicapped. They can't advocate for themselves. They don't even understand most of the paperwork. They don't know what's going on. They don't know who's coming, who's going. So it's crushing for them. And some of these clients do have to sometimes pay for this. Yes, sometimes the county or Medicaid will pick it up, but not always. And they're not getting the services.
Why don't the Japanese get diabetes? While you're stabbing yourself with needles, they're using something
That's
you
crazy
already have
because that
in your
is
kitchen.
true.
So hindsight makes a lot of things make sense, Susan. However, back then you were reporting this to your supervisors. Do you know, did anyone follow up? Did they report to government officials, to law enforcement, or anyone who could have done something about this?
I know we were all reporting at all levels, all of us, and we had several meetings discussing how we felt something very fraudulent was going on. And we all were expressing it. Clinical directors, supervisors, county workers, mental health workers, we were all reporting. But the problem is that when you have a fraudulent agency, right, and they have burner phones and they're here, they're there, they're everywhere, and you don't even know where to drive to find the person, and they don't answer, where do you go, and who do you yell at?
You've had conversations with some of these clients. What did they tell you?
So, for example, I work with this one particular client, and I go into this particular client's home weekly. And every time I talk to her, just get updates, you know, how are your services going? Is your homemaker coming out? Is your IHS worker coming out? Are all these people doing what they're supposed to? And what I hear all the time, and this is across the board, I don't even remember who's supposed to come out on what days. I'm so confused. I don't even understand any of this. I never understand who's coming, who's not coming, and it changes. And sometimes they don't come, and I don't know what's going on half the time. These are her words, and it's heartbreaking because she always starts to cry, and she has, cognitive declines and disabilities. So it's super confusing for her. So is that even fair for these people? They're at a huge disadvantage.
So with what you've seen and been through, do you think elected officials are really doing all they can to fight fraud? We know it's not just this HSS program, also a moratorium announced on another social program. After a 238% spike in applications, who do you think is to blame for all of this, and what should be done?
I don't know who is to blame per se. Do I think they're doing everything they can to fix it? No, I don't.
Do you think in a way this has been allowed to happen since it has gone on for so long?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's not allowed to happen. Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Madam Chair, I'm Nathaniel M. Olson, a disability advocate for the state of Minnesota. I've heard the commissioners and the Department of Human Services, but the one thing that I'm freaking worried about is this freaking fraud that is happening over our state, where there's 600,000 disability people in the state of Minnesota that could suffer. And sadly, it's quite interesting that we have Governor Walz speaking in front of the state and saying that this fraud is nothing but the side. But my people are done suffering. We're done with this fraud. We're done with the Department of Human Services coming up here and saying, oh, we're going to figure this out. This has been too long. The administration knew that this fraud was coming. I've talked to families, parents, everyone have been reaching out to me and saying, oh, this is what is happening to my child. This is what is happening to my child. We're afraid. There is a time to hold our governor accountable, and I'm not seeing it. This fraud is outrageous. And it makes me sad to see what's happening to our state. This was a great state. It was. But all of this fraud that is coming around here, all these excuses that is happening, needs to stop.
If you had just one word to describe the fraud that's been going on, what would it be?
Complete, total bullshit.
Sounds like that about sums it up, but obviously very frustrating from someone in your position when your job is to get these people the help that they need.
Very frustrating and makes me actually really sad. And if people could just see these clients and talk to them and hear their stories, you'd be heartbroken.
That's why we appreciate you bringing them.
That's kind of crazy. I do want to play Nathaniel's whole talked for like 2.5 minutes, I believe it was. And I just want to play the whole thing.
The Department of Human Services, but Madam Chair, I'm Nathaniel M. Olson, a disability advocate for the state of Minnesota. I've heard the commissioners and the Department of Human Services, but the one thing that I'm freaking worried about is this freaking fraud that is happening over our state, where there's 600,000 disability people in the state of Minnesota that could suffer. And sadly, it's quite interesting that we have Governor Walz speaking in front of the state and saying that this fraud is nothing but the side. But my people are done suffering. We're done with this fraud. We're done with the Department of Human Services coming up here and saying, oh, we're going to figure this out. This has been too long. The administration knew that this fraud was coming. I've talked to families, parents, everyone have been reaching out to me and saying, oh, this is what is happening to my child. This is what is happening to my child. We're afraid. We need to put aside these differences, and we need to come together and put a stop to this fraud. Our governor is not doing anything to help us, but sit here and decide he wants to blame Donald J., the President of the United States, who has nothing to do with this. There is a time to hold our governor accountable, and I'm not seeing it. This fraud is outrageous. And I'm very scared for my little brother if he goes into ICS home. But right now he's home with my parents, and he's going to stay there because I'm going to keep fighting for these disability people, because none of them are right here, and I am their voice. It is time for us to say enough is enough. I'm done. And it makes me sad to see what's happening to our state. This was a great state. It was. But all of this fraud that is coming around here, all these excuses that is happening, needs to stop. Minnesota needs to become a great state again. Thank you, and thank you guys for your guys' hard work.
So they went up to one of the fraud. She's on the DFL side, but Emma Green was pulled up, and they asked her questions.
But fraud is fraud, so why?
Yes, but
He has some very valid questions to ask about what's going on here in Minnesota. And do you think this fraud
I don't know who
crosses?
you are.
My name's Nick Shirley. Do you think this fraud is Republican or Democrat, or just facts that fraud is happening? Because because that's what I heard you talking about. That
I know what I said is that
because
what we're talking
we want
about
to we want to build trust, but fraud is fraud. So why should we be enabling fraud to happen here?
No, I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
Okay, sir.
No. This
Sir,
is not.
sir.
When are you going to hold Governor Walz? No. She is a representative for the state of Minnesota. Yes or no?
Excuse me.
Yes. Are you?
If you're going to talk to me like
Are
that.
you going to say to her, I'm a disability advocate?
I heard you, and
get
you got a chance
overstimulated.
to testify.
Thank you for testifying today.
No.
Ma'am.
She needs to ask her questions because she represents.
The facts are the facts that fraud is happening here, and it's not a nonpartisan issue. How come you think fraud has been able to happen so much underneath
I think
the
if you've
government
been
here?
listening to our hearings, we've had now 10 hearings on this. And so there's really good data from the people who both work within the administration as well as who, both Democrat and Republicans. I think
Yes.
what you heard today is that the Republicans who control this committee are not actually interested in solving fraud. What they're interested in is telling a story.
This fraud has happened underneath Democrat leader Tim Walz.
There has been Medicaid fraud across the country under Democrats and Republicans. There's fraud within the Trump administration. We have is fraud. Private providers have made government a mark. And so every person running government, Democrats or Republicans, are dealing with the issue of how to keep fraudsters out of our public payment. We're also dealing with veterans. We're dealing with consumers. I hope you're looking at that. If you look at United Health, currently is being charged with defrauding Medicare. You know who runs Medicare? President Trump. And so it isn't a partisan issue. The fact that you're trying to make it a partisan issue tells me you have an angle, which is fine. That's why I asked who you're with.
Well,
But
lot
the
of fraud has
point
happened here.
that
Political
we are-
correctness is
Governor Walz,
stopping.
President Trump, Governor, you look down the line, and I hope you're talking about that, because if you look at what CMS has put out, right, Medicaid fraud is a 50-state issue. And so, again, it is not a partisan issue. There are Democrats and Republicans who are sitting in that committee talking about it. But what you did here was the Republican chair say she's not turning information over to the one person in government who can stop payment. And I hope you print that.
Thank you for coming today.
Crazy.
Well,
If
you
this
saw what
really
happened
the
there?
state of Minnesota that we live in, and these politicians are just walking off, thinking it's okay Tuesday, and they want to go visit the Trump, they want to blame the Trump administration. We have Democrats blaming ICE. I'm tired. My people are suffering. I'm scared for my little brother. My people are suffering, and these people just walk off. We have a governor who fucking doesn't care. How many more people are gonna freaking die? How many more people are gonna go homeless? And how many more people are gonna be trafficked in our freaking system?
Wow. This morning already, you've had an FBI raid is going on out in, I think they're on Burnsville, Bloomington. Guess we'll see. Skip the ad.
Vulnerable people, an unattended death, and hundreds of millions of tax dollars. Tonight, KARE 11 Investigates exposes new fraud allegations inside yet another rapidly expanding Medicaid program. This one meant to help Minnesotans with disabilities live safely at home. Here's investigative reporter AJ Legault with the latest findings in Housing Hustle.
This is the
Recovery Inc.
backstory to
investigation.
what's happening today.
In an East Side St. Paul apartment,
Found him like this, called 911.
a man is found dead.
He's got rigor and lividity, so he's been deceased for
We're going to talk about this next.
a long amount of time.
Across town, a phone rang with a call no parent ever wants.
To inform me that my son was deceased. And my first thought was, no, and start crying.
Mickey Clemmer's son 39-year-old Rick Clemmer died of what the medical examiner ruled natural causes, an enlarged heart. But what KARE 11's investigation uncovered through Medicaid billing records and police body cameras
Rick was last seen yesterday.
makes Rick's mom now suspect what played an enlarged role is neglect and fraud.
If they were really providing him the services they should have been, he would be here with me.
Rick was severely mentally ill, battling bipolar disorder and schizophrenia most of his adult life.
He had never lived on his own.
Until, in the summer of 2024, he moved out of a group home and into his own apartment, supported by a Medicaid-funded program called Integrated Community Supports, or ICS.
And that's where I think things went downhill.
Rick seemed to quickly deteriorate. This is what he looked like just before moving to his ICS apartment. 8 months later, the change drastic. Overseen by DHS, the Minnesota Department of Human Services, ICS is designed to help adults with disabilities live more independently in their own apartment with one-to-one daily assistance for things like health, safety, wellness, and household management.
Vulnerable people need these services.
Was Rick getting the necessary services? Records show his ICS provider, a private company called Ultimate Home Health Services, LLC, billed $461 every single day, claiming they provided Rick, on average, almost 12 hours of ICS service daily.
What would you call what you're seeing on that piece of paper then?
Fraud. They're billing for something that never happened.
Mickey says she visited her son every week, often spending an entire day at his apartment, and never saw an ICS worker.
I can definitely confirm that those days there was nobody there. I was there. There was nobody there.
There was definitely nobody there to call 911 when Rick had a medical emergency and died alone.
When was the last time you guys seen him or known that he was alive?
Yesterday.
Around what time?
It was yesterday morning.
Time of death.
St. Paul police body cam footage, which KARE 11 worked with the Clemmer family to obtain, is a smoking gun.
To be honest, as like you do, I do my daily check-ins. I have no idea what he does.
This ICS worker with Ultimate Home Health Services told the investigating officer they briefly check on Rick just once a day.
He is one of the most independent, residents here. So we don't got to do that much checking on him.
That's very different than the 12 hours of one-to-one service Ultimate Home was billing taxpayers. We wanted to ask the ICS company about their billing, but finding them is harder than you think. Office is inside the back of an old strip mall, but no one was there during business hours. Their webpage is a skeleton. The generic placeholder address listed as Main Street, Anytown, Minnesota. According to Secretary of State records, Ultimate Home Health Services manager is Othman Mohammed. His LinkedIn page claims he's also a nurse at Hennepin Healthcare. Othman did not respond to any of KARE 11's attempts to contact him. But his company is now part of a story that in Minnesota sounds all too familiar. Alleged overbilling in a DHS-overseen Medicaid program exploding in cost.
The level of fraud in these programs is staggering.
While announcing indictments in the wake of a prior KARE 11 investigation, federal prosecutor Joe Thompson said the DOJ was also finding fraud in the ICS program and at the state capitol.
The massive fraud that is going on at ICS.
In a fraud hearing, an ICS client named Kane Pence warned that taxpayers were being billed for services he was not getting.
$276 a day in my case, and they don't do jack. They do nothing.
KARE 11's analysis of state Medicaid data reveals ICS billing has gone up a staggering amount from $26 million in 2022 to $168 million by 2024. Back
Crazy.
at the St. Paul apartment where Rick died, other residents were too scared of retaliation to go on camera, but shared with KARE 11 their records, which reveal hundreds of thousands of dollars per year paid for services they claim not to be fully getting.
These vulnerable people need help. You're billing for them, then give them the help.
Wow.
And if you're not, that's fraud.
This case, it's a prime example of the real-world impact of all this alleged fraud. Vulnerable people end up getting harmed. Now, today, DHS notified me they've suspended payment to this company, citing credible allegations of fraud. It goes into effect December 2nd, I'm told, in order to create a safe transition period for the clients that are currently living in the apartments. And Julia, there's,
and to go more off of this story, AJ and Lura Goose posted this morning that a federal raid was happening this morning in Bloomington. So I think people should pay attention to this because as it goes on more and more every day, you're starting to see different programs being accused. What the crazy thing of it is, the media will say alleged, but we are seeing a lot of shit that y'all can just say the alleged shit because y'all are scared. I don't know what the fuck y'all scared of. But we know that it's been going on for a very, very long time. And it really, makes me sad to see that people that are the most vulnerable in Minnesota were being taken advantage of. And it didn't matter if it was, adult daycares. It didn't matter if it was adult, services with PCAs. People were dying. People were being charged their Medicaid, their insurance was, and there was no services being rendered. Is that what we're really about? And that's what's crazy to me is like, how do not believe those people, the most vulnerable? And what's crazy is I got, when Nathaniel got up there, I watched it yesterday as well, live when it was happening. And I'm just like, damn, that's kind of crazy. I didn't see Nick Shirley's part or whatever, but I did see, Nathaniel get up there. I seen when DHS got up there, and I do feel like it is just a blame game. There's nobody being held accountable. There's nobody in CD District 5, 59. We're not holding city council members accountable. We're not holding governors accountable, representatives, senators, because what keeps on happening? Fraud. And in the programs that are supposed to take care of the most vulnerable in Minnesota. And they do what? They scammed them. They got over on it. It didn't matter. That's the one crazy part, right? Because while they're pinpointing and they're putting this right on the Somalians, why aren't we talking about who allowed the Somalians to do this? Who allowed this to happen? And the crazy thing of it is that people don't want to talk about it was direct allocations that were given at the state. You had people a lot of them are retiring. And I do feel like that is because a lot of shit, I feel like, is going to come out. And they're probably going to be tied to it. And some don't care, especially like Minneapolis. I really have a hard issue. I have a hard time with the fact that Jamal Osman, and not even just Jamal, but Mayor Jacob Fry, his wife. Does everybody forget about the Sarah Clark? And that's why I think our morals and our ethics are so fucked up. It's so fucked up. And let's be real, because it is. And that's one thing that when I learned during my ethics classes, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. It should be a bipartisan. And that's what I don't understand is like when it really comes down to it, does fraud see politics? Does it care? Because I think in Minneapolis, you see it's a lot of DSA, DFL. But then when you go to rural areas, you'll see a lot of the Republican senators or representatives be a part of it. So who are we really holding accountable? That's what, because I can tell you this right now is like, they like to pinpoint the Somalians. But what about Amy Bach? What about Sharon Ross? What about all the connections that are still on the website? All the pictures they have of God Squad, Bob, what the fuck is his last name? He's the sheriff, Bob Fletcher. Like, come on, what more do people need to see? Are we that dumb? Because that's what I feel like Minnesota, when it comes to our voting class, I really think there is a lot of dumb, deaf, and blind voters. And especially when it comes to the Black community. Especially when it comes to the Black community. And that's the saddest part of it. Because while our community has gone through years of trauma, they don't like to bring that up and have conversations about it. They don't like to have talks. They don't want to go down that road. And why? Because a lot of their names come up and doing boo-boo shit. Doing shit that has made North Minneapolis be the shithole that it's becoming. Because I can tell you right now, I've seen so many pictures on Facebook lately that is going back to like Robert shoe stores on Lake Street, or, you know, when it used to be on Chicago on Lake, we had Roberts, we had Sonny's that was just right down the street. We had a Sears, which is now Midtown Market, Global Market. Like, there are so many good memories in Minneapolis that are no longer there. I mean, come on, we got to look at the Kmart. The Kmart, that ain't there no more. I don't understand. It's been closed for years. Champions, White Castle. Those things are gone. How many people remember Rocky Rococo? Right there on, I think that was on Nicollet. It was near that area. But the Rocky Rococo was over there. Motherfuckers used to go over and get their pizza. That super slice. Go get them some breadsticks and a pop. $5. That shit, that won't get you shit no more. $5 won't. But that's the crazy thing of, like, what happened to those times, because instead of it being like a distant memory, we should be able to feel that type of shit. You know, what happened to that? Because that's one thing that we have really got rid of as Americans, as people that are supposed to be caring about another in our communities. And that's not what we're seeing. It's not. And it really hurts me to see this shit. You know, I've seen so much in the last couple months when it came down to politics. What they're doing to Molly Dennis in Rochester, it's sad. It's sad to see that you have parties eating their own people because some people were tired of it. They want to stand up. So, but it hurts. It hurts. There's consequences to that. And that's what a lot of people don't want to have conversations about, is that there is consequences to that. There is literally consequences for doing the right thing. For doing the right, which there shouldn't be. We call them whistleblowers. Why? Like, that is, to me, that is, I'm not saying that that's bad, but like, damn. Like, come on now, we have got to do better, because like, so many people are hurting in our community and we're not doing anything about it. You know, and this is the one thing that I wanted to talk about, right? Is how this man died because of the cuts. He died because, I don't know, that's what the advocates are saying. I don't know if this is some kind of political ass bullshit, but people are really, really being hurt. People are dying. People are going hungry. People are being evicted. And what are we doing as people? I don't feel like we're doing much. I'm going to be honest. I don't think we're doing much, because while all this fraud is going on And then you have ICE coming into the communities, right? Where they're telling you to call 911. Now, to me, that's fucking crazy. That is wild as hell. And I'm going to talk about that as well, of the ICE incidents in the last week. And like, why aren't people doing more? They're protesting, but you're not stopping ICE from getting any of their people. You might stop them that one day, but does that mean you're going to stop them every day? You might have got one little win. One little win. You might have won that battle, but you didn't win the war. And you're nowhere even close to winning that war, because I can tell you right now that it's not stopping ICE from arresting and deporting people. It's not doing anything for the brothers and the sisters that are behind the bars who are innocent. It's not doing anything for them. So why aren't we talking about that type of shit? Because I can tell you right now, niggas all day can pinpoint the fraud. They can pinpoint the shit that was going on, that was being built. And because everybody, this is the one thing that I totally don't get, right? Especially when it comes to that peer recovery specialist shit. And they were telling people to bill for, you know, driving to the client and all this shit. I'm like, damn, like you literally are paying people bucos cash. The same thing with the violence interrupters, you know. And I do want to say, after I get done with this, I'm going to go on with the story, but I'm talking about even with the violence interrupters in Brooklyn Center, when Dante Wright was killed by Kim Potter, because instead of grabbing her taser, she grabbed her gun. They were paying, the city of Brooklyn Center were paying people to babysit other adults, paying them over $50. This is what's really fucked up to me, right? And I will never understand how people feel in their community of like you're a revolutionary or anything when you sat there and got paid to be the bitch boy of a police department because they were scared. They didn't want to face accountability. They didn't want to face, and you know what's crazy? The same shit that happened to Dante, they paid out. But has anything honestly changed in Brooklyn Center? Let's be honest. Has anything changed? Because elections have consequences, people. Y'all will never understand that elections have consequences. So I want to go into the story that impact of changes after the fraud, because it doesn't just affect the people that were partaking in the fraud. It includes people that were bystanders, innocent bystanders, who were being billed but not getting the services. And that's what I won't understand. Like, we have got so fucked up as a community.
Administered program has died. It's the latest fallout for people caught in the middle as the state cracks down on fraud. Renee Cooper is live from the Capitol right now with the outcry this evening. Renee?
Yeah, Kevin, industry advocate Josh Berg has been sounding the alarm about the dangers of clients abruptly losing their in-home care. He did so again today, telling us a client is now dead after others living in that apartment building smelled an odor.
The police had not suspected any foul play, but still under investigation, and I don't know any more details other than that at the moment.
A client of the DHS-administered ICS program found dead on Monday. The provider, Relief Health Services, wouldn't go on camera, but confirms they last saw him last week.
If a person doesn't show up in a residential service or staff aren't there, that literally puts a person at risk of homelessness, death, you name it.
DHS stopped their payments, citing credible allegations of fraud. They dispute that, but had to halt services in the meantime. Berg says there's no system to ensure continuity of care, meaning clients are abruptly on their own.
And now we have a death on the hands of the administration because of it.
What do you say to that? I mean, they're placing blame for this death and say there have been warnings of this outcome for months on DHS.
I think that providers that are taking state dollars and have authorization from counties to provide these services need to provide the services that the people deserve.
Relief Health Services says they have been trying to find the client alternative care since mid-November, sending these pages of emails to the state over the last month, seeking help and expressing concern over a, quote, lack of correspondence from case managers and the reluctance of other providers to accept new clients. Is continuity of care being provided for these people whose services are abruptly stopped for the clients?
I personally reach out to the leaders of counties to make sure that the case managers are working to transition these people, and I have not heard from county leaders that they're unable to handle that.
Now, Relief Health Services tells me that they took this client on 3 or 4 tours of alternative care sites in the last few weeks, and they say that the case managers had not returned a single call or email until after his death. They also told me they're unsure of the circumstances around his death. Live at the Capitol tonight, Renee Cooper.
That's fucked up. That is really, really fucked up that people have been experiencing this. And we make them suffer. We literally make them suffer. That's what I don't understand. Like, we need more oversight and we need guardrails. So when this shit happens, there isn't a breakdown in no service because people are affected. People who depend on that help are losing their lives. So the next thing I want to get into is the immigration crackdown right here. A lot of people say they weren't prepared for it. Oh, they're just coming there for the Somalians, but you're not seeing the Somalians really locked up because a lot of them are citizens and they have been here for years. So in my eyes, it's like, and I see people are very, very organized when it comes to these protests, when they come to interacting with ICE. And I don't know what more to do. I don't know what I think. Yeah, it trips me out. They tell people to call 911 when we know officers in Minneapolis have done to Black and brown bodies over the years. Over the years. And then you call these people into our communities you want them to stand up and protect you, but they have traumatized communities. And ICE isn't, in my eyes, they wouldn't be terrorizing or causing trauma to communities if they weren't here. So that's one thing that I will never understand is like, what's the difference now between a Black man and never mind.
Rage cuts through the cold. ICE agents in Minneapolis surrounded by protesters. Agents have someone face down on the ground. A woman launches herself at them, then chaos. One ICE agent steps back to film protesters. ICE retreats a block, then fires pepper pellets. These are the front lines of Operation Metro Surge, a federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota, being met with organized opposition, angered by the U.S. president's series of anti-Somali tirades. Minnesota is home to the largest Somali community in the country, but lately, things are quiet on Somali Street and in Somali businesses.
With the operation that's going on, the people are fearing, nobody's coming outside. So that has really greatly affected our business. And we're really right now on facing that we can close the doors for the business.
In its first 2 weeks, ICE arrested more than 400 people. Some were Somali, including a 20-year-old American citizen. Mubashir was on a lunch break heading to a Somali restaurant when he was grabbed by agents and wrestled to his knees in the snow, cuffed and taken to a detention facility. He was released, but Somalis took note.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are they're staying home. Like, there's people that aren't leaving their house because they're scared of being mistaken for someone else and being captured and taken away. Like, there's people that literally have not gone out for groceries for days and weeks, and they're citizens.
Farah, like most of the Somali community in the area, is an American citizen. We're only using his first name because he fears repercussions for him and his family.
It's been difficult to sleep, for sure. It's been really, really hard to get a full night's sleep. So I've been struggling with that a lot. I mean, there's no universe where anyone can say any of this is normal, right? Like, it's not normal for a president and a leader of an entire country, what considers itself the most well-developed country in the world, to be singling out a group of people and calling them garbage.
We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
Donald Trump has also repeatedly accused Somalis of stealing billions of dollars, tied to a sprawling fraud investigation of a COVID-era funding program in the state.
I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions.
It is true that dozens of Somali Americans were charged in the case. Farah says Trump is cherry-picking.
It's like people commit crimes, people do bad things, and respectfully, those weren't the smartest people in the world. It was a very dumb crime, but there's no actual justification to ascribe that behavior to a large group of people.
You know the Somali community, you know that it's such a beautiful and vibrant and such a generous community, and such a important piece of not only Minnesota history.
UDU is with a group that trains volunteer rapid response teams who show up at ICE operations and document what they do.
They're everyday people. They're restaurant owners, they're business owners, they're neighbors, they're teachers, they're nurses, healthcare workers, everyone under the sun.
Enrollment is up, way up.
Everything happening and the remarks that were made by the president, it jumped from 115 to over 500 signups. With this rapid response network, folks feel a sense of community. There's a community of people who are ready to defend their neighbors. There's neighborhood group chats that folks are making of specifically in their neighborhoods to connect with other neighbors.
UDU says it's putting pressure on ICE.
They know they have to be really quick about their pickups, because if they take longer and folks start noticing and the community starts showing up, they will back down.
On this day, the community showed up. ICE agents met with a wall of dissent. In a statement, ICE told us its officers conducted themselves with the utmost professionalism and successfully apprehended 2 illegal aliens, and that they also arrested 2 protesters for assaulting agents.
They just sprayed the entire crowd with chemical irritants, including members of the press, just my neighbors. These are my constituents.
Aisha Gomez is a state representative. This is her district.
We basically have secret police on our streets. They don't identify themselves. They don't observe the basic kind of protocols that law enforcement are supposed to bring into a place to ensure public safety. I've been pepper sprayed twice today. I'm not deterred. We're standing up for our community. This community is going to continue to mobilize as long as we have secret police invading our streets. And so I don't know how it ends, but I know that this community is saying no. They're saying that our neighbors are important to us, and we're not going to stand for their rights to be violated.
Resolve likely to burn through the long, cold Minnesota winter.
I think it will keep on going on. Basically until the end of basically end of winter. I think Minnesota period will be a shit show. To be honest, if we're going to be honest here, I think that's what we'll definitely see is a shit show, and we need to be honest about it. We need to be prepared. Just like right now, they're making sure that there isn't 287 agreements with counties That's, the feds and what all that. And I think they're just making it harder. They're making it where that's what you're going to see. You're going to see people being dragged. You're going to see people getting hurt because here's my point of it is, right? How are y'all coming to a fight? And that's what it is. And y'all got signs, or you got whistles, and they have guns and pellet guns, bean bags. How do y'all go with signs and whistles when you know the people that you are there protesting, that if the opportunity arises, they're going to bust a cap in your ass? Make that make sense. Make that make sense. For real, make it make sense. Because I don't get it. I don't get it. I think Minnesota is at a time and place where a lot of people have not seen, just like the thing that's going on with Molly Dennis. I think to me it is so fucked up when you're seeing indivisible Minnesota and then even Isaiah treat people who, that in my eyes have always stood up. I don't know about always, but I would just say the last couple of years, even when she was on city council, was doing the right thing. Did she have to pay for it at election time? Yes, she did. Because we already knew, if you knew what was going on in Rochester, you already could see what was going to happen. And it's crazy to me how she's being blacklisted. Blacklisted for what? For saying what's right, for saying that we need to do what's right in America, to say what we need to do what's right in Rochester. Saying I don't get that shit. That's why, to me, these political parties, it saddens me, if I'm going to be honest. It really does sadden me because, just like I seen with Nick Shirley when he was going after, I believe her name was Emma Greenman, and just trying to get straight up answers. And nobody has ever answered Nathaniel's question, Nathan's question about why hasn't Governor Walz been held accountable? Because this happened. Everybody at the state legislature is involved or to blame, but we shouldn't really just put it on, the executive. Because, yeah, he did allow it to happen, but so did a lot of Democrats and so did a lot of Republicans, because they were either getting paid by it or there was just not enough people to do anything. And I still believe you can do something. I do believe you can do something, and I believe that we still can. I don't think Minnesota is lost yet. I think Minnesota is really a fucked up place, but I do see it getting better. But with that being said, tomorrow is a press conference about the fraud that Joe Thompson will be doing, and comes on about noon. Says it starts at noon. So about 11:45, I'll probably get up on here and start talking about a few things of if anything has gone on today. If it does get out of hand, I probably will go live later, or when it happens or whatever, somebody's on the scene like Mercado or one of the news stations end up going live. I definitely will bring it to you. So with that being said, man, I want people to have a great, great Thursday. And I will be coming back in 2026 to regular episodes. I just needed to get my stroke and brain bleed and everything that was happening because I need to go back to work. I need to do a lot of things. And, yesterday I was told, I was messaged that I was officially off probation. So that was been a long road. It's been a long, the whole time that I've literally been part of this movement for change. I've always been on probation. So this being a blessing to me after everything that I've been through with them trying to violate me off of just doing the right thing. A lot of Democrats got scared of me because I was doing the right thing, not because I was intimidating, but because I wanted to do the right thing. So if it wasn't ideal, the best thing for my community, I kind of stayed away from it. And a lot of people feel like I burned bridges, or I didn't. Who's here and who's still around me is supposed to be here and around me. And they're here for a reason, because they've been loyal. It's not always just about, because everybody can tell you they love you, but do they actually show it? Do they actually, be there when shit gets tough? Or do they start getting mad about your ideologies or the way that you supposedly, oh, you're a conservative now, I can't fuck with you. Been calling myself the urban conservative since 2021. Like, now you have an issue, and like, come on now. I think it had to do more with, there's a lot of shit. My memory is just coming back now, to a lot of shit. And Ashley was given this portrait. It's one of these, I don't know, there's a bunch of shit on there, and pictures or whatever. There's a lot of them on there that make me like, damn, that's crazy. But it also, shows the good times that I've had, and the people, the great relationships that I've made over the years. And I wouldn't change that for the world, because I appreciate people like Marcus X. Smith or Robert Johnson or Reverend Tim Christopher, Jennifer Van Zant. Those people are, even Gemini, those people are people who are still here. And I know that I can call any one of them and they'll all pick up the phone. But even if they're, that's what I value. And I'm glad that people steered me into a direction of education and being able to understand what was going on at the city levels when it came to our city's constitutions, I should call it city charter. I learned about, how to write amendments and doing things, legislation. I've been a part about almost every goddamn thing, and I've done this basically without taking any money from anybody. I use drug proceeds to fund what we were doing in the community. Me and Marcus both. So what these people are doing off grants from the state, we were doing off of drug money. So while they do it off of blood money, we were trying to brighten the community up with the proceeds that we had gotten from living alive. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I will be back tomorrow. It'll probably be about 11:30, 11:45. So with that being said, win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well. And y'all have a great one. And here is Rashad Lee. Game ain't the same no more. See y'all tomorrow.
Damn, Heiko, you made it.
I'm getting pissed. My nigga, I'm sick of this shit. Game ain't the same no more. My nigga, just look at this bitch. Feel like I'm out of my mind. Who fucking who and what nigga a snitch? Gotta get back on the grind. Fuck all the drama, ain't making no sense. Why the game so tense like, my nigga, I'm sick of this shit. Game ain't the same no more. My nigga, just look at this bitch. Feel like I'm out of my mind. Who fucking who and what nigga a snitch? Gotta get back on the grind. Fuck all the drama, ain't making no sense. Why the game so tense? Overrated. Niggas been getting complacent. Damn, it's too many weak rappers in the game. They gon' hit us and diss me, I'm waiting. I'll be okay, I'm just sick of the faking. Nobody solid, these niggas be flaky. Talking the truth and these niggas be hating. They mad that I got it right out of the basement. Building my legacy, no one erasing. Nigga, ain't taking shit. Used to be cool when I look at you now. All that run through my head is you still a bitch. If I'm making amends, need a bigger list. At a place where I ain't got a shit to give. Now you talking about Drake when I say that I came from the bottom. You just had to witness it. No comparing my nigga, just live a bit. How we moving this shit like a syndicate. Really new to it, pardon my innocence. Out of energy trying to replenish it. I've been working the way out the benefits. Niggas watching, they testing my vigilance. It ain't mercy, but maybe equivalent. Gave that nigga a pass, he was ignorant. I feel the dissonance. My nigga, I'm sick of this shit. Game ain't the same no more. My nigga, just look at this bitch. Feel like I'm out of my mind. Who fucking who and what nigga a snitch? Gotta get back on the grind. Fuck all the drama, ain't making no sense. Why the game so tense like, my nigga, I'm sick of this shit. Game ain't the same no more. My nigga, just look at this bitch. Feel like I'm out of my mind. Who fucking who and what nigga a snitch? Gotta get back on the grind. Fuck all the drama, ain't making no sense. Why the game so tense? What's up with the industry? My nigga, what's happening? Who really telling it? So many rumors, this shit really interesting. I'ma just give you my honest opinion and tell you what's starting to get to me. Over and over again, we going in circles, I'm knowing the history. Niggas been going outside, I'm back in my bag, I had an epiphany. Nobody's stopping me, I can't be living in misery.